the far-left media is piling on President-elect Trump for raising awareness of the terror threats at the border. Instead, they say U.S. military veterans are the real threat.
The simple fact is, this country has suffered more deadly terrorism at the hands of American-born citizens who are veterans of the United States military than people who have crossed into this country at the southern border. It is very clear from the evidence that if you want to worry about terrorism in this country, the United States Army is a much bigger problem than the southern border.
That's not all. Quote, young white men are apparently also the problem.
The problem here is that you jump on one sort of crime, one crime committed by one name that sounds exotic, one brown face, rather than looking at all of the domestic terror that we face, including what the FBI says, is a really big problem, which is young white men in America.
According to the latest CBP data, border officials have encountered at least 395 non-citizens with suspected ties to terror under the Biden administration, compared to just 14 during Trump's first term. But they aren't hearing any of it.
I think we've all come to expect, sadly, that in the midst of some disaster or some terrible attack, Donald Trump will be chomping at the bit to unleash lies and the worst kind of bigotry. It can be really very dangerous.
He's stoking fear. Illegals, illegals, illegals. Nothing gets the Republican base more afraid than when you put that stuff out there.
What President-elect Trump did yesterday, deeply irresponsible, if not surprising.
Here he goes again. He talks about everybody else being fake news, and he's the one peddling fake news.
Joey, I'm going to begin with you, go to you straight away.
Yeah, first of all, Lawrence O'Donnell can kiss my ass. To say something like that, I mean, I'm sorry, the 20 years we spent at war defending this country, dying from suicide and bombs, I thought had erased the "you're a baby killer," but I guess it hadn't. I guess they're right back to it. Everything else the Democrats have tried has failed, so why not go there? Why not blame the military? Why not blame the veterans? Why not blame the 25 million veterans in this country that have served it honorably and have sacrificed for it? Because you can point out a dozen over the last 40 years that have done something terrible. What's funny to me is he's hinging on this terrorism idea, like specifically terrorism, that military veterans are terrorists. Listen, we had Saudi Arabians come in this country and take 2 airplanes and fly them into buildings, and we still don't know how in the hell that happened. I'm sorry, that's an immigration issue, right? I mean, is it not? Americans die at 200 plus a day from fentanyl pushed here by cartels. Those aren't terrorist organizations. They're not creating terror. They're not hanging people's heads on spikes in Mexico to send a message to those that would go against them. You can be as liberal as you want to be in this country and say anything you want to say. But to sit there and say, to justify an open border policy, or maybe just because you hate Trump that much, to say that the United States Army is a breeding ground for terrorists is not only shameful, it's absolutely despicable. And thank God that little small human being doesn't sit in front of me in person anytime soon, because the Georgia in me would come out in a heartbeat. That is absolutely insane. And the reason why it bothers me so much is if you look at this narrative that we have for what happened in Las Vegas, there's all kind of conspiracy theory around it, and I don't trust in my government enough to say any of it is true or false, but what we know in fact is that this guy served his country honorably for 18 years. And by all accounts of what he left was not trying to hurt anyone but himself, because he was to the point of delusion from the trauma he received going to war for this country. It's tragic, it's wrong, it's illegal, it's criminal, it's completely irresponsible, even if he thought he wasn't going to hurt someone. But it's not freaking evil like driving down a sidewalk and mowing people over. So that veteran is not the same as the other veteran. And for someone like Lawrence O'Donnell that's been in this business as long as I've been alive to say something like that, I mean, Jesus Christ, they've lost all sense of decency, and it's just about getting the right headline in front of the right people, and it's absolutely sickening.
Amen.
Yeah, the broad stroke insulting to so many people. Thank you, Joey.